Adult Swim is turning 15 today. Yes, that's right. It began airing on September 2nd, 2001. A week or so before 9/11. Isn't that crazy? Well, with less depressing things out of the side, Adult Swim was a huge part of my high school growing up thing. I can't dictate words. But the point is here, they've been doing a lot of video game things recently. And they kind of dabbled with some of their shows. They made a Phoenix Wright-like game for their Birdman cartoon. And then recently there, of course, was Jazz Punk, and that was fantastic and super weird. They helped publish that. They helped publish this really weird duck game. Of course, a lot of their online stuff has gone to mobile. And most recently, Headlander, which they did with Double Fine, and that was a fantastic game as well. So it's kind of weird to have this really bizarre cartoon block on Cartoon Network come out with all these publishing deals. But the point I want to get to here is I want to look at their early stuff. When they would advertise during bumps between cartoons of anime or adult cartoons and show, hey, have you heard of this weird game? You can play it right now on our website. So I'm going to be looking... long story short, I'm going to be looking at a bunch of Flash games where they kind of got their roots from. None of their most recent stuff, I just kind of want to get that out of the way just for a little taste. But yes, let's go into a couple of those weird Flash games. Let's begin with 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself. I remember seeing this one a lot in between watching Cowboy Bebop and a bunch of other weird cartoons. And you're essentially an office worker and you just can't take it anymore, so you decide to kill yourself with whatever you can find. Be it a knife or a paperclip. There's, actual weird or better things to kill yourself with, like guns. But for the most part, you're just trying to do as much damage to yourself as you can in those 5 minutes. And sometimes people are blocking your way and you're trying to just get the most effectiveness for that 5 minutes. Very, very simple, but also a very weird concept, which is kind of what Adult Swim is all about. Now, Atomic Gringo is kind of simple. You are basically kind of a cowboy robot, and a bunch of villains are coming after you. It's kind of like a rhythm game where you're trying to go diagonally up left, up right, up, down, right. The normal directions, and you're trying to fight them off, and you're trying to time your attacks and get the most points. Not that weird in terms of the scale of Adult Swim Flash games, but it's, pretty fun to waste some time with. Bible Fight is a fighting game wherein you take characters from the Bible like Eve or Moses and you fight each other. It's actually like a really cool Flash game, and it's actually a competent fighting game in general. Just the concept of having these Bible characters fight each other is pretty fantastic, and it's not really damning, I guess, if you want to say, if you're Catholic or Christian or whatever, and it's fun, okay? They don't go grotesque. I don't know, it's hard for me to describe, but it's not as offensive as they possibly could be. And I think the video game genre needs more religious games, and not the really, really terrible games either. But of all of them, this is probably the best one out there. Bionic Chainsaw Pogo Gorilla is exactly as it sounds. You're a bionic gorilla on a pogo stick with chainsaws for arms. It is kind of a basic platformer. You're kind of escaping from your area, and you're just going out there to murder people on your way for, retreat. It's very bizarre, cool pixel animations, and it's just, it is something. To generalize, it's another fine example of what Adult Swims is all about. Burrito Bison isn't that crazy. You are a bison, and you're kind of in a ring fighting, but the main goal is to launch yourself and to see how far you can make it. And you're trying to bounce yourself off of a bunch of Kandi critters that are in the, or I guess I should say gummy critters that are in the audience. And you can boost yourself with some power-ups that you get, and it's just how far can you make it? Just one of those very basic games. I believe you can get it on your iPhone, and it's a perfect game to play on iOS or Android or what have you. Again, simple, but entertaining. Kandi Mountain Massacre Revenge is, I believe, the second game in the Kandi Mountain Massacre series. Very, very janky graphics by today's standards. I think the 2D kind of pixel stuff stands out more and holds up better, whereas this is a very, again, janky looking 3D game. But essentially, you're like this cute girl, and you're trying to make your way up Kandi Mountain, which is kind of like a play on Candyland, and you're just massacring everything. That's about it. It's the juxtaposition between cutes and nostalgia for childhood games, and just blood and violence. It's pretty capable. One of the earlier games I remember seeing a lot on Adult Swim, at least the first one, but I think I've covered about as much as I can really say about it. Cream Wolf. Oh, this is a really weird one. Okay, so you are a werewolf by night and a ice cream man in the daytime. So the goal is to give these ice cream treats, which are like little mini games when you actually run into people. Give them this ice cream, make them fat, so at night when you become a werewolf, you want to get these fat kids and eat them, essentially. That is basically the game. Very, very weird. It's like, it's graphically like an Atari game, which I love as well, especially like title screen, which is very reminiscent of box art from the Atari. Just fun. I don't know if it's fun, but it's weird, and I love the novelty of it. Dungeons and Dungeons is also probably what you think about it. You are a dominatrix with a little gimp behind you, and you're traversing through this little platform maze, and you're getting all these weird weapons like a feather duster and a taser, and your main weapon is a whip, so it's kind of like Castlevania, I guess. And you're trying to make your way through with all these kinky people, I suppose. It is another just fun, just play on words. I love it so much. I really wish there was more Castlevania in my life, or a sexy Castlevania like this, I suppose. But yeah, that's Dungeons and Dungeons. Escape from Puppy Death Factory is a game I want to love more than I actually do. So on its surface, it's kind of like Metroid. You start off, you come in like the Metroid ship, but it's actually a dog. And our dog jumps out and it's wearing the Barrier suit, and it's just super cute. If it was a dog Metroidvania, I would just be insanely in love with this game. But it's actually more of a puzzler. You have this beam that you can switch places with any object. You're trying to rescue other dogs. It's kind of a fine platform puzzle game, but based on, you know, the dog suit and the ship, I just really wanted more out of it, not really a puzzle game. And yeah, I guess that's it. It's disappointed. I'm sorry to say that it's not as cool as it totally could be. And this is House of Dead Ninjas, and you're basically this very cubified ninja running cool, awesomely through these little platform stages, and you're trying to make it through as many platforms and floors as you can. You have a bunch of weapons like throwing stars and bombs, and you're trying to kill as much as you can within the time limit and survive, and that's about it. Very, very simple platformer, kind of. It's a survival game, I guess, a survival platformer, essentially. But it's become a full-fledged game, and that one is actually pretty good on Steam. But this is where it all began. And now we come back to sexy with Lesbian Spider-Queens from Mars. This is another game that's kind of very much along the lines of very arcade or Atari games. You are the Spider Queen, and you're trying to entrap all these warriors that seem to be coming after you in your web with your... It looks like the laser's coming out of your nipples, but I think it's the rod that you're holding. And I guess it's kind of like Pac-Man, except that you're actually attacking at all times. It is just, yeah, it's blah, 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 blah. Man, I'm just at a loss for words. It could be a lot more things. It could be way graphic with a name like that, but it's just very, very, very simple. So let's just move on to the next one, which is Pole Dance Party. And it's another game that I really don't have a lot to say. You are a stripper, or you're watching a stripper, and it's kind of like Guitar Hero, and you're trying to line up the letters and the money flying through. Very simplistic game, kind of cashing in on that huge craze of the rhythmic games of that generation. It's, you know, fine. It could also, another game where it can go graphically way more offensive to some people, but it doesn't go all the way. It's just a little arcade game. Robot Unicorn Attack. Now I gotta say, this has some fantastic memories associated with me and with college, I used to do a bunch of Skype calls every weekend with a bunch of friends that I was no longer in contact with because I had moved away, and we basically kind of talked about whatnot. Sometimes we played games online, like on Pogo, and sometimes we played random games, not with each other, but kind of with each other. And we all got addicted to Robot Unicorn Attack a lot around the time when it came out, and it was fantastic. It was the first game I bought when I got an iPad Touch, and it was the first game I bought when I got an iPhone, even though it should have still been in my thing for having me bought it, but I had to switch accounts, and it's a long story. Either way, it's a fantastic game with fantastic cheesy music, and I love it. Now, Westerado is one of their more recent titles, and this is another kind of prototype for an expanded game which they put out on Steam. It's a really cool Western where the basic concept is there's a guy that killed your family and you're going into town to figure out who he is. And you ask people and they kind of tell you like, oh, he has this kind of mask on, but there's a lot of people with that mask on, so you try to delve deeper as a detective, kind of. But also you can just go crazy and shoot people. Fantastic music, fantastic graphics. It's a really, really awesome game. And this Flash game is a good, again, prototype for what you'll get on Steam, but the Steam game just leagues above what this game started out as, and it's really, really cool. In a world without Red Dead Redemption 2, you should definitely check this one out if you have not yet. And last, but kind of very least, we have Zombie Hooker Nightmare. And it's another game where it definitely does not go as far as it definitely could, but you are a prostitute, it seems, with the way that you're wearing stuff and the way that you slap grass to kind of attract the zombies. But it's a brawler, and you're a hooker, and you're fighting dead hookers, and it's pretty okay. It's just, again, another very simplistic Flash game. You get weapons like a machine gun or a shovel and a golf club, and you're just trying to rack up as much score as you can. And, you know, that's pretty much all I have to say on that, and that's all I have to say on Adult Swim games. I love that they're becoming more of a publisher. That's fantastic. You can clearly tell that they really like great ideas in the video game industry. So a very happy 15th anniversary to Adult Swim, and here's to a bunch of more years to making video games, or at least helping dreams come true. For all those indie developers with insane ideas, but cool concepts for video games. Did you know that was a Reaction Examiner video? If you liked it, you should subscribe to me to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Also, if you have some other interests, like sex for example, check out Tum Ups, which is a comedy sex podcast thing wherein my best friend and I check out the weird and abnormal and the erotic. And of course, you should support me on Patreon because, hey, I want to make the channel better and I want your help to do so. Plus, if you want to check out my writing, check out Game Jerk, where I have archives and new stuff for all projects, okay? You can find all the stuff and more in the description with the links below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.